Hey guys, what's up? Roman here from Tech Guides, and for today's video I've got a whole bunch of secret Call of Duty Warzone tips and tricks prepared for you. We'll start off with the new circle timings that came to the game with the patch on April 28, and that Infinity Ward didn't share a whole lot about what has exactly changed. Further, I'm going to show you everything you need to know about taking damage in the gas, what the best approach is to survive the longest in the gas, and finally how and when you can still outrun the incoming gas. As always, timestamps for each topic are provided in the description. So today's video is absolutely packed full of great information, and if you like this kind of content, then definitely make sure to smash that subscribe button such that you won't miss out on any future Call of Duty Warzone tips and tricks. And with that, let's hop right into the new circle timings. On screen, I'll show you all of the different timings for each stage, and whenever Infinity Ward has increased the time, I mark this as green, when they have decreased it as red, and as white if the timings didn't change. So before the new patch, the first stage would take 4 minutes 30 until it would start to collapse. With the new settings, this has now been decreased to 3 minutes and 40 seconds. The closing of the first stage is equally long with the old and new settings, however the total time that has elapsed until the first stage closes is now obviously slightly decreased by 50 seconds. Stage 2 timings remain identical, whereas the closing phase of the second stage has been increased by 1 minute and 10 seconds. This brings up our total time until the second stage has closed to 13 minutes and 20 seconds. The waiting phase of the third stage has not been touched, while the closing phase has once again been increased. This is basically the common theme throughout these changes. We can see that the waiting stage isn't touched, whereas the closing phase has been increased to make the circle move a little bit slower. Note that with these changes, the Gulag now closes 1.5 minutes later than before. For the remaining stages, we can see the exact same behavior. The waiting phases have all been kept the same, whereas the closing phases were made slightly longer to make the circle a little bit less deadly as it moves slower. With these increases to the closing phases of the different stages, the total match time has now been increased from 25 to 27 minutes. Next, I'd like to look at a few common misconceptions when it comes to the gas in Call of Duty Warzone and how much damage it deals. So first, let's see if having armor influences the amount of damage that you take through the gas. As you can see from this example, there is absolutely no difference in the time it takes for the gas to kill a player if they have armor plates or not. Next, it really doesn't matter if you're far away from the end of the circle or very close to it in terms of how much damage the gas deals. As you can see from these clips, both players die within 12 seconds of being in the gas. Also, there's absolutely no difference in the damage that the different stages inflict. And yes, I sacrificed myself in the last circle of a live Warzone game in order to test this for you guys. So if you like this kind of dedication, then smash that like button. Something else that I was always curious about was trying to figure out what the best approach is to survive longest in the gas. So as we've seen before, you always die within 12 seconds in the gas. Now you can prolong this period by equipping a gas mask, which will give you another 12 seconds. With stims, you can boost up your health all the way to 100 HP within 2 seconds. So if applied correctly, this will give you another 12 seconds. Note that you cannot armor up while in the gas as you continuously take damage, and you cannot equip armor plates if you're taking damage. If you have a self-revive, then you can also simply die in the zone and wait for the health bar to deplete by about half of its length before you apply the self-revive. If you follow this up by a stim, you'll immediately go back to 100 HP. The entire application process takes 7 seconds, but this will give you another 28 seconds of survival in the gas. And finally, the last way to extend your lifetime in the gas is by picking up stims from an ammo box. So if you're a solo player, the maximum possible time that you can survive in the gas if you apply everything absolutely perfectly is 1 minute and 28 seconds. As you can see from this clip, I only survived 1 minute and 25 seconds as I didn't want to risk dying during this experiment. On the other hand, if you're playing with an entire squad, then each of these squad members is able to bring an ammo box into the zone, and therefore you can survive up to 96 seconds by picking up a total of 8 stims from 4 different ammo boxes. This will then theoretically bring the total time to survive in the gas to a whopping 2 minutes and 40 seconds. I'm pretty certain that nobody in Warzone will survive for so long if they don't know these tricks when it comes down to a heal off. So keep these tips in mind. If you want to survive longest in the gas, you're gonna have to have a gas mask, 2 stims, a self-revive, and finally you definitely also want to have at least 1 ammo box. Finally, let's try to figure out what the maximum possible distance is from which you're still able to outrun the gas in the different stages. For this, I first had to figure out how fast you run with different weapons. And as of the latest update, we're now finally able to drop our weapons in Warzone by going to the inventory and left clicking on the weapon. So on screen you can now see the results of this investigation. When running with fists and pistol, it takes exactly 15 seconds to reach 100 meters. So within 1 minute you can get to 400 meters. SMGs are slightly slower but still very fast, you reach 100 meters in 16 seconds. ARs and snipers are as expected slightly slower, it takes 17 seconds for 100 meters. And finally, the slowest of the bunch are LMGs and RPGs, which require 18 seconds for 100 meters. Now, while these numbers are very exciting, they probably won't help you in combat, so here's a more useful table which tells you how long a certain stage lasts and how far away you're still allowed to be from the next zone in order to survive the gas from that stage. So if you're more than 1,800 meters away from the second zone and the first stage has already started to collapse, you better start looking for a vehicle or otherwise you won't survive it. Note that I didn't take into account the 12 seconds that it takes for the gas to kill you, and neither fast sprinting, which gives you a bit of a speed boost for the first few seconds while running. By the way, this is the greatest when only running with fists, where you can reach up to 30 meters in 4 seconds. And finally, all of this is obviously nonsense if you have a gas mask or stims to prolong your lifetime in the gas. However, with the new circle timings, I'm pretty sure that you won't have an issue outrunning the gas if you have a gas mask or stims. But that's all the tips and tricks that I have regarding the circle in Call of Duty Modern Warfare Warzone. If you've learned something new or if you know of any additional secrets regarding the gas in Warzone, then definitely tell me so in the comments below. If you like this kind of content, then leave a like. If you didn't, leave a dislike. Thank you so much for watching, have a wonderful day, and I'll see you guys in the next video.
3 players there. Push along the right side, the right side.
Thank you for the rest, you're a hero. I love you.
Alright, so there are only 3. Your play is good. Okay, see one guy up top. Far deep down right here.
Two there. One more to the right as well.
We're gonna have to go for this, like they have the higher ground.
Yeah, I'm going.
Okay, it's 4v3.
Armor off on one.
Nice, I'm pushing
armoring
them.
up.
One guy down here.
Nice.
Finish him, finish him.
He's finished, but I'm down.
One guy still up here.
One guy's lit on my marker.
One down.
Finish him.
Cheers, man. Yeah, there he is, there he is. Fucking reload, man.
God,
There
he's
it
too
is.
much.
I think that's a GG, boys.
Good job.